I don't know if you noticed, but we have a double stream because I couldn't stream yesterday. Why? Blame KLM. Blame KLM. Let's start off with the biggest of boys. Can we get some DSA giants in the chat? Ben Burgis wrote something that I agree with. It's a double miracle. It's a double miracle. I missed you and Hasan last week, but my mental health improved somewhat. We can't let that happen. Happy birthday, Argus. John Fetterman is the kind of political communicator the left needs. As a communicator, John Fetterman has the highly effective Bernie Sanders formula down pat. Take progressive positions on social issues while making denouncements of the 1% central to his message. Pennsylvania's John Fetterman has surprised many commentators by establishing an early lead in his Senate race against GOP nominee Mehmet Oz, aka Dr. Oz. Fetterman's campaign has depicted Oz as the wealthy, out-of-touch celebrity he is, trying to win an election in Pennsylvania from his mansion in New Jersey. Right now, Oz's main talking point is Fetterman is more like Bernie Sanders than Joe Biden. An odd line of attack at a time when Sanders significantly outperforms Biden in national polls. This is the incredible thing, is that people will shit on Bernie even when he's polling great, or he at least doesn't hurt you, but he has big fans. So if you have somebody who has a very strong core of support, but doesn't have a lot of haters, you should always want to ally with that person because their strong core of support is a pure boon and there isn't any real negativity. That's the truth about Bernie Sanders among voters, right? The anti-Bernie voter who would then go vote Republican because Bernie Sanders likes you basically doesn't exist. It only exists in Washington fucking D.C. and guess what? They don't get to vote. Is Oz's team deliberately trying to tank his campaign? Sort of feels like it. No, it's just a fucking loser consultant class who hates Bernie Sanders, so they think everybody else does too. So Bernie Sanders right now is pretty much even favorability. A little bit underwater because he's, seen to be a Democrat. So pretty much every politician is hated right now. There's a few polls that are better than others, right? Joe Biden is universally despised. John Fetterman is endorsed by AOC and Bernie Sanders. If that doesn't tell you he's a socialist, nothing will. John Fetterman, Bernie Sanders socialist to the left of Joe Biden, a political puppet, radical, wrong for Pennsylvania. Now, John Fetterman just replied clown and massively ratioed him. But you get the point. Oz's main line of attack is, hey, John Fetterman is more like Bernie instead, not Biden. Biden, meanwhile, has a 37% approval rating in Pennsylvania. And his opponent is going, hey, that guy is more like the guy you like and not like the guy you hate. Good campaign, Oz. Well done. It's entirely possible that Oz will succeed in changing the narrative sometime between now and November. The race is still much too early to call. But if Fetterman does win, what kind of senator will he be? The honest answer from a Democratic Socialist perspective is a mixed bag. And I think that this is something that I've always tried to communicate. I like John a lot, but he's gonna do stuff I disagree with. I don't think he never called himself a socialist. He never lied like that. But he does talk to socialists. He does talk about the left. He cares about the left and what the left is thinking. This is what reminds me of FDR, actually. Because FDR wasn't a socialist. He never claimed to be a socialist. But he listened to socialists. He respected socialists. He appointed socialists. He had socialists working in his shit. He listened to the trade unions. He listened to these other things. And he would say stuff like, make me do it. And that's more, I think of John Fetterman as like the 21st century mold of that, which is, I understand what he is. He's not lying. He's honest, which is what makes him really fucking rare. Let's keep going. His political branding and policy preferences basically make him a moderate Bernie-crat, similar to the Congressional Squad in some ways, but closer to the Democratic mainstream in others. If he makes it to the Senate, though, that would be an exciting development for the left, and not just because he's an extra vote in favor of many progressive policy initiatives. Given his straightforward left populism, a Senator John Fetterman would be the first major Bernie-crat to closely resemble Bernie himself as a political communicator. Gay rights and the union way of life. If you click on the issue section of Fetterman's campaign, the very first video is called The Union Way of Life. That is not something you're going to see on a standard Democrat. There really aren't. You really aren't. They will say stuff about organized labor, maybe, but they do not center it. This is what makes John different and more like an old-style New Deal Democrat than the scum that has existed since the 70s. Focuses on Fetterman's support for 2 strikes. In both cases, he explains in clear, simple language that the striking workers deserve a fair contract. We've watched this before, but let's take a look again.
Thousands of Kellogg's employees continue to strike.
John Fetterman is the lieutenant governor of Pennsylvania and a fierce supporter of unions.
They have the right to reap the enormous benefits that they helped create.
Fetterman is currently fundraising for Kellogg's workers picketing on the front line.
If you appreciate having your favorite cereal or your favorite product on a shelf, you need to make sure that the people that made that possible are able to live a good, stable, dignified existence.
Well, the workers at Erie Strayer, who have been on strike for nearly a month now.
Look at these guys. Every other Democrat is losing these guys. This used to be the core part of the Northern Democratic Party. Every other Democrat would never win these guys. Ever. They would just walk away, and they're going to the Republicans. And if that happens, it's fucking checkmate, man. Imagine Pete trying to talk to those guys. We don't have to. Someone find me the Pete on the UAW picket line video, please. Someone dig it up. When you have somebody who is strong left, like John is on most issues, and he walks into a group of these fucking guys, and he's taller than them by a head. By the way, these are the big boys. These are big fucking boys. All right? These guys are big. And he towers over them. There's a guy in a fucking Steelers jersey. This is the type of guy that the Republicans are picking up because the Democrats are not even trying. They're on a picket line. Incredible. Here's Pete on the line. All right, hold on. Let me see.
How long do you feel like the strike fund can, I guess as long as it takes.
Yeah.
How long?
He's like a fucking, he's a corporate fucking, oh my God.
How long do you feel like the strike fund?
Oh my God. This is who the Democrats want to lead their party. Compare, contrast, compare, contrast. You can't tell me any human being likes this fucking nerd. I mean, maybe if you were a 5th grade teacher and he promised to help you clean up the blackboard erasers after class. But Jesus Christ, President of these United States? You gotta be fucking kidding me.
Have the support of the Lieutenant Governor of Pennsylvania.
The company is not acting in good faith.
John Fetterman showing up at Erie Strayer yesterday.
I mean, to offer these members a nickel raise the 3rd year into a contract is an insult. I mean, it's outrageous.
The Scranton teacher strike continues with no real end in sight.
Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman joined the picket line.
You just want what you deserve and what's fair and what's equitable. That is not the way a school board should be negotiating. Woohoo! Yes!
Striking teachers in the Scranton School District took their fight all the way to Harrisburg.
Area lawmakers and Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman joined in support of the teachers union.
This strike could be settled within 90 minutes, what the leadership tells me, if they returned to the table and just gave them a fair contract.
I mean, it's just not even close. I forgot he had the balls for info about their strike fund. Oh, by the way, chat, if you don't know what a strike fund is, basically one of the things a union can do is when they collect dues from their members, they can save a portion of it in what's called a strike fund, which basically means that if the union decides they want to strike, they will try to replace some of this pay that you don't get. Because when you're on strike, you don't get paid. So the union tries to give pay to all of their members during the strike. And it's a way of, doing mutual aid and planning ahead for the time where they might have to fight. Because if you give people some money, they can hold out longer, and the company will be more, willing to negotiate because they see, okay, well, they could strike for a long time and cause us to lose a shit ton of money. And then it's a calculation of we just give them what they want versus how much money will we lose if they strike. Those lines intersect, and it's a way of forcing companies to give in. And if they know you don't have a strike fund, then they know a lot of people who live paycheck to paycheck or don't have a lot of savings are going to be forced back to work. But the union is structured around mutual aid and solidarity. So when Pete Buttigieg was like, how long do you think the strike fund could last? He's basically thinking like a corporate manager of how he could break that union. How could he force people to be desperate enough to have to go back to work for shit fucking benefits and pay? He's an actual disgusting rat. Anyway, the same kind of approach is on display in this video further down the page on gay and trans rights.
Back in 2013, I was the only state official to solemnize same-sex weddings in Pennsylvania when it was illegal, and I was threatened by the then governor with criminal sanctions for performing them. The LGBTQIA community deserves the same rights and protections that the rest of us enjoy in this country. They deserve equal protection under the law, as we all do as Americans. I can't think of anything more fundamentally un-American to single out a group and deny them the basic fundamental protections that we all deserve as citizens. All these years later, I'm proud to say that I've consistently stood with this community. It doesn't matter who you love, doesn't matter how you identify, we're all part of the same American family and we deserve those same protections and rights.
Perfect messaging. Perfect messaging. Not afraid. Shows up, right? His kids are at a pride march. Ah! Ah! His wife has a shirt that says, if you play for both teams, you'll always win. And John Fetterman in 2013, this is actually a really important contrast. In 2013, Pete Buttigieg, John Fetterman was the mayor of Braddock. When did Pete get elected? 2012? Okay. So in 2013, we have two fucking politicians, all right? This has nothing to do with identity or anything about them. Just their actions as an official, all right? What did John Fetterman do as mayor of Braddock?
Back in 2013, I was the only state official to solemnize same-sex weddings in Pennsylvania when it was illegal, and I was threatened by the then governor with criminal sanctions for performing them.
So John Fetterman, when it was illegal, stood up to a Republican governor and gave out marriage certificates to gay couples and performed the ceremonies himself. Meanwhile, in South Bend, Indiana, Pete Buttigieg did fucking nothing.
That's praxis.
Compare and contrast. But has Fetterman done this?
Justices ought to be able to retire like they used to.
Oh my God, and what is he in the middle of saying? Liberal bullshit! Liberal fucking bullshit! That hasn't been true. I'm a little bit younger than Pete. My entire life, the Supreme Court has been politicized. It was politicized before we were fucking born in the Bork hearing. All right? And quite frankly, before that. Okay, the Bork hearing was actually when we were children, small children. What the fuck is he talking about? Are you 90 years old, Pete? I mean, I can't watch this guy for 4 seconds without him being pathetic.
Justices ought to be able to retire like they used to.
When was that, Pete? When was that? I want to know what the fuck he's talking about. Really, what was that? When was that, Pete? When was that? He's so stupid.
Do you like the policies of Joe Biden, but aesthetically he's too worked with segregationists for you? Do you want an old school politician who's gonna tuck you in at night and tell you everything is fine while simultaneously refusing to change the system that got us the likes of Donald Trump to begin with? Do you care more about the aesthetics of progress rather than actual progress, especially when it's delivered to you in an Aaron Sorkin-like monologue in Norwegian?
Dude, this motherfucker played Duolingo for a couple fucking lessons and then pretends he speaks the language. Fuck this piece of shit. Holy shit, I got 4 seconds. Okay, let's finish this 30 seconds. We're being ADHD brain. We could do it, chat. We could do it. Did they just cut edit? They just cut edit. Are these phones even doing the lighting? Honest to God. Honest to God. Legitimately, I think if you like Pete, I'll be honest with you right now. I think you have a very small brain. Like a micro brain. Like you are an automaton. Like a non-person. In the sense of like cognitive ability. You know they're gonna make us vote for him? Oh no.
I do not have evidence that there has been discipline for racist behavior in the case of one. But if you truly running for president and you black people to vote for you, but if you running for president and you want black people to vote for you, that's a downfall. That's not gonna happen. I'm not asking for your vote. You ain't gonna get it either.
Legitimately, if they run Pete Buttigieg, it'll just be funny. Like I know I get mad about a lot, but like the idea of him running is too funny. He mostly steers clear of academic language or any formulations that sound like they were cooked up at a human resources department. He grounds his progressive positions on these issues in terms of universalist appeals, framed as simple moral common sense, saying that marginalized people deserve the same rights and protections that the rest of us enjoy in this country, and that to single out any group to deny them equal protection under the law is fundamentally un-American. The healthcare video takes the same straightforward approach. I don't know what else to say about healthcare, he says, other than it's a basic fundamental human right, no different than food or shelter or education.
I don't know how else to say this about healthcare other than it's a basic fundamental human right, no different than food or shelter or education. It is a fact that every person is going to require healthcare during the course of their lives, and every American deserves ready access to it. Every individual has the right to health care for whatever they need to make sure that wellness is a priority.
The fact that the Democrats are going to run someone who got cucked by Donald Trump Jr. is everything you need to know about their party. He couldn't pass a vibe check at a 55-plus nude beach. Gavin Newsom is probably one of the most... He looks like a used car salesman. Fuck the Jehovah's Witness canvasser. Legitimately one of the worst fucking politicians I've ever seen at vibing with normal people. Like, legitimately. Gruesome Gavin. Really? Really? Pete Buttigieg. Kamala Harris. Really? How do you create such vivid and accurate descriptions? I just connect things that what he reminds me of. My cousin is a very big, wealthy bigwig that was one of the main guys behind Pete's campaign. I weep for him. He asked me to read Hillbilly Elegy because I'm white trash from Ohio, too. I might like it. That's a far-right book. Hillbilly Elegy is a far-right book. Anyway, my sister and I are only voiced below 10 million a year, and I think it could end up being helpful. Communist Kowalski, you're a tier 1. Elevate your tier status with millions of dollars. What the fuck?
And every American deserves ready access to it. Every individual has the right to health care.
Every individual has the right to health care. Put this simple and compelling pitch together with all the fun he's been pointing out, having that the man he often calls New Jersey's Dr. Oz doesn't understand how it feels for ordinary people to struggle with rising gas prices, and you can see why Fetterman has been doing so well. We can and should be clear-eyed about Fetterman's flaws. In 2016, he was the only candidate for statewide office in Pennsylvania to endorse Bernie Sanders, and the association has stuck with him since. But he hasn't personally adopted the Democratic Socialist label. He's also been vaguer than we'd like on policy specifics of treating healthcare as a basic fundamental human right. He responded to a question about whether he'd vote for a Medicare for All bill in the Senate during a Democratic debate by saying he'd vote for anything that gave more people healthcare. Fair enough. But I'd like more clarity for him on why the difference between Medicare for All and halfway proposals that leave the blood-sucking private insurance industry in place is actually pretty damn important. I've suggested elsewhere that congressional progressives, including Bernie Sanders, need to do better on foreign policy, and that's definitely a weak spot in Fetterman's politics. He struck some of the right notes on costly wars of choice and the importance of diplomacy, and he's even snagged an endorsement from Peace Action. but he's given little indication that he has any appetite to rock the boat and pick fights with Democratic leadership on those issues. Most disappointingly, he seemed to be significantly worse than some other big-name Bernie-crats on Palestine. We shouldn't exaggerate the extent of those differences. Bernie Sanders and Jamal Bowman voted to fund Israel's Island Dome, with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez notoriously voting present. And Bernie has been pragmatic enough to support more incremental measures on the road to the ultimate goal of Medicare for all. Still, Fetterman is at least somewhat worse on both fronts, and we need to be willing to call balls and strikes even with real political allies. Despite these real drawbacks, the most exciting thing about Fetterman is that he represents a different model from AOC and some of the others as a political communicator. Like Bernie, Fetterman takes impeccably progressive positions on social justice policy issues, but also like Bernie, he doesn't spend his time snapping back at the problematic. When he recently tweeted in support of Pennsylvania's governor's veto of a law preventing trans kids from participating in school sports, Fetterman explained his position the way you might explain your progressive views about something like that to a conservative friend at the bar, saying the law was cruel and calling it a distraction from Pennsylvania's real problems. Instead of trying to combine a commitment to Bernie's social democratic policy agenda with appeals to Team Blue in the culture war, which seems to be AOC's strategy, Fetterman foregrounds economic populism. Social policy issues matter, and the left can't and shouldn't be neutral on whether our country has laws making life harder for marginalized groups. But when Fetterman is explaining his positions on such issues, he seems to do what Bernie does. He succinctly explains his position in terms of universal moral values and goes right back to hammering the 1%. And this is I agree. That's why this is why John is so much better at this in Pennsylvania. In fact, I knew a guy who was a building trades bigwig guy, and he loves John Fetterman. All the building trades guys love John Fetterman, even though he's significantly to their left on stuff like social issues, because of the way he makes the appeal. Because of his vibes, because of his strength on stuff like the picket lines and defending the union's positions economically. That same guy would never support AOC in a million fucking years. So I've literally seen John Fetterman pushing people to the left in my personal political experience. Oh yeah. I think this happened since my last stream.
Hey, Maymet. This is Nicole Snookie. And I'm from Jersey Shore. I don't know if you've seen of it before, but I'm a hot mess on a reality show, basically, and I enjoy life. But I heard that you moved from New Jersey to Pennsylvania to look for a new job. And personally, I don't know why anyone would want to leave Jersey, because it's like the best place ever, and we're all hot messes. But I want to say best of luck to you. I know you're away from home and you're in a new place, but Jersey will not forget you. I just want to let you know. I will not forget you. And don't worry, because you'll be back home in Jersey soon. This is only temporary. So good luck. You got this, and Jersey loves you. Mwah.
John Fetterman paid for a cameo from Snookie to roast Dr. Oz. I mean, like, legit. I make for 50. I know, Commodus Kowalski, obviously. Yeah. I was just fucking with you, man. Right on Fetterman's campaign that echoes much of what you've been saying. I think this guy blocked me. No, wait. This is the smart guy, not the idiot guy. Whether you supported Fetterman in the primary or not, you have to acknowledge that he understands how to message a campaign in a way that resonates and has impact, and that's something most Dems haven't figured out. Here's what I mean. He has taken one issue, the issue of Mehmet Oz's residency, and crushed him with it across every possible communications channel, from flyovers to trolling with Snookie to more traditional communications. He has taken one particular point and hammered it. And that issue isn't a kitchen table issue, social issue, or legal issue. It's not a policy issue at all, but is an issue that speaks to authenticity and character that serves as a direct contract to Fetterman himself. Oz is a multimillionaire Hollywood celebrity from New Jersey who parachuted across the river to run for Senate, and Fetterman is an authentic blue-collar Pennsylvanian. That's something voters understand. What Fetterman understands, and something that Republicans figured out a long time ago, is that policy is downstream from values and character. Policy is complex and can be obfuscated in most cases. Character is much harder. A lot of people used to make fun of young people who supported Bernie in such large numbers without knowing the specifics of his policy platform. What those people don't understand is a political fundamental. People are not policy experts, and they know they are not policy experts. But if you trust your character and your values, they will be paying much less attention to your policy specifics because they trust you are on their side and will do the right thing. And how you present your character and values is a question of not just what you say in terms of your values, but your tone, your presentation, and the image you project. That's what resonates. That's what goes viral. That's what gets attention. Things that show you're human. If Lamb were the nominee, he would probably be running a traditional suit and tie campaign messaging around gas prices because that's what polls show the voters care about. Fetterman has made that an irrelevant issue, and has Oz chasing his own tail. If you polled Pennsylvanians before Fetterman's general election campaign, would anyone have told you they care if that Oz is from across the river? No. But Fetterman made it an issue, one that plays to his strengths. And this is one main upshot that Dems need to learn. Stop chasing the voters on the issues that other people are setting the terms on. Start with establishing personal character contrasts and allow the issue conversation to flow downhill from there. I couldn't agree more, actually, with this. I think that he's nailed it right out of the park. And that's why, and it also has to do, you got to be willing to be negative and talk about the person. I agree with this 1,000%. Good thread. Thanks for the link. The Florida state government says that Dr. Oz has never had a hunting license in the state after Oz filmed a commercial bragging about his apparent hunting experience on a ranch in Florida. Oh no!
That's praxis.
Wow, it's been 18 months. Crazy.
My father taught me how to handle my first gun. I taught my son Oliver how to do the same.
Thank you, Stock.
I've been shooting and hunting my whole life. So when people say I won't support guns, they're dead wrong. Boom! Other conservatives know that I'm strong on the Second Amendment. Ted Nugent, Rick Perry, President Trump. But our Second Amendment is not just about hunting. It's about our constitutional right to protect ourselves from intruders or an overly intrusive government. So as your next U.S. Senator, I will fight for our constitutional rights.
I like the boys. I also like the message that the institutions are woefully, totally, and fully corrupted, and that you need to do direct action. Also, America bad. And I don't think I've ever seen a show that was more realistic with how people would act. Legitimately, I think it does a better job of satirizing America than any other serious political show.
You can protect yourself against the U.S. military with small arms.
Sailor Jeff, thanks for the tier 2. And they have a character. I like it actually. I'm surprised at how much I like it, to be honest with you. Have you seen any of the dumb alt-right who also love the show for the opposite reason? It's nuts. They don't realize the entire show is making fun. I mean, that's the way the right wing always is. You have right-wingers that like Star Trek and Star Wars, which Star Wars was specifically written with America as the Empire and the rebels as the Viet Cong. And Star Trek is literally a socialist utopia. Like, it's incredible. People are right-wing and they're like, I like this. I like this content. It's like, dude, it's specifically created to say that people like you are wrong and bad. If Fetterman wins a Senate seat this fall, he could inspire other birdiecrats considering running for office to imitate that winning political formula. If so, I hope some of these other politicians have better positions on Palestine to stick their necks out further on some important policy issues. But his approach as a political communicator is exactly what the left needs. I think John Fetterman is I think he could be a little bit stronger on a couple issues, but I think that he has done a very, very, very good job at demonstrating where he is. Star Wars went heavy with the Nazi aesthetics, and so people missed the point. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's also the thing. Greatest right-wing cell phone. Is this like a Warhammer 40k Emperor thing? I think that's just great art. What do you mean? I mean, unless they were like right-wingers saying this is based. So anyway, John Fetterman is great. John Fetterman rules. John Fetterman is awesome, etc., 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 right? Obviously he's great, you know? And he's one of the bright spots.
Glad you're back.
Are you watching the stream unsubbed? You're making income inequality worse. You are doing anti-praxis. We are the only Twitch stream that will not accept scam advertisers, and I will never fuck you over by selling you crap